Welcome to #52Needs. And this week we are talking about peace and specifically peace at work. And I'm delighted to have with me Sven Kaven, who's a mindfulness teacher, author, and photographer who has lived and worked all around the world. Currently, Sven's life and work stretch from his hub in Germany to Spain, Portugal, and Norway. Since 2014, Sven has walked over 16,000 kilometers on the Caminos, the traditional pilgrim routes in Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, and Portugal, where he teaches mindfulness and helps people to trust in the power of presence while walking. Sven is the author of A Walk to Be and the soon-to-be released 55 Days in Stillness. Okay, welcome, Sven. Hello.
Hi.
So
nice to be here.
And it's wonderful to have you because peace at work is not really something that we talk about a lot. And now you are writing a book on 55 Days in Stillness. I'm really curious. I mean, can you have peace without stillness?
God, that is a mind question. It's a mind question. It really gets me off. Can there be peace without stillness? I guess yeah. I guess because there's also peace. No, it can't. No, there it is. No, it's not possible for peace to exist outside of stillness. It can't.
Okay. So when you work and you're busy all the time and you're going, can you still have peace?
If you are present with what you're doing, yes. Okay. Because stillness doesn't mean that there's just no sound. Stillness means that you're present with something you're doing, maybe, or you just sit and you're present with your body sensations.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, we're talking about a whole different concept of being busy and working and productivity. And because, I mean, peace at work for a lot of people is maintaining the peace. You know, and we've talked about that in the other conversation, you know, not speaking up and, you know, being quiet. And that's not the stillness we're talking about. We're talking about, and you are talking about the inner stillness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we create peace at work? Other than being internally still? Because it's at work,
I can only tell you how I do it.
Okay, please.
I can only do it when number one, that the work I'm doing is the things I love doing. That's number one. Because if I was to do something I don't really like, I'll actually be in resistance all the time with the work I'm doing. And there's no point in doing it, then that won't be peaceful. And so, because I'm all the time with the resistance of doing it. So I'm doing it maybe for another reason.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that if I work with something is that I'm present with my work. So if I think about the book I've been writing, 55 Days of Stillness, I had to be first here in order to, for instance, to collect my thoughts, maybe to collect without actually collecting it, you know, but just being with it and then writing it down. If it was an observation or if it was a story, that came about, which wanted to be written, or a conversation which shows up that wants to be written, and the characters which appear. I can only see that if I'm still with it, if I'm present with it. And so creativity in itself, in its nature, is stillness, right? That when we are in it, so every building you see in the world, every book that has been written, every painting that has been painted wouldn't be here if it hadn't been created through aspects of stillness.
Okay. So the tortured artist who suffers greatly is a myth. I've just recently been to a Van Gogh exhibition, and, you know, he was a really tortured artist. But when they had quotes, it was one of those immersive exhibitions where they projected his paintings, you know, like in huge sizes against the walls, and then they had quotes. And he talked a lot about peace and, you know, inner congruency and, so none of the tortured artist.
I guess, you know, it's part of it. It's really, really part of it. Suffering leads you oftentimes to what is there for you to do now, for instance, or what you need to be with, or what you need to accept. And then you get creative.
Yes.
I definitely can see this in the short stories I'm writing right now. There's always an aspect, maybe sometimes it's an aspect of suffering, sometimes joy, whatever. And then I get into it, not because I decide to get into it, but because I'm letting go of all of it. So Van Gogh was a person that suffered quite a lot before he could paint the pictures. Maybe he was suffering while he was painting it, but then he was present with the suffering.
Yeah. So we talked about that before. Peace doesn't mean an absence of suffering as such. It doesn't mean that you're going, it just means you're managing it completely different. You're at peace with the emotion, or you're at peace with the suffering, and accept it as part of life, as part of growth, as, you know, and I think in regards to work, it's an ability to say, I look at how I impact, not just on myself, but also on others. And I can reset myself. I don't know how to actually say that. This is what I love about these conversations, because they can't be planned. And so I can just go, oh, this is where my mind takes me. And then stuff comes up where I go, wow, I haven't even considered that. And I'm totally at peace with that.
Yeah, perfect. But you know, we don't actually have to put ourselves under pressure, because peace is there when peace is there, moment by moment. Yes. And that can change. And then we are just peaceful, maybe with the unruliness in us, because there ain't no peace. And then you sit there and but what you can be with, for instance, is that, you know, everything just goes tits up. Sorry for saying that, but everything just goes wrong. And if you can be okay with that everything goes wrong, then just something might show up. But you do not do it in order to reach something, as so many people do. You know, say, oh yeah, I need to suffer now. Everything has a reason, and then this and that will happen. Oh, that's just a story we tell us. Oh, the light has gone off. So here we go. It's coming back.
So yeah, I was as you were saying that, it's the process, and it's about going with it. I was working as a work scholar at Esalen Institute many years ago, studying nonviolent communication and working in the kitchen at the same time. So I was studying and then working, and kitchens are notorious for being really emotional places. You know, chefs have this reputation of being, like yelling, screaming, shouting, and creating, like ego driven. And for me, this was the best experience I've ever had, because we were practicing nonviolent communication. And one of the chefs, Johnny, was just brilliant. So we would regularly go out. Halfway through the shift, he would check where we were at. Could we take a 10-15-minute break? And we would go outside, and we would check in. We would say, so where are we at right now? And then, there would be 15 people sitting around, and we would say, okay, so this is what's going on for me. And somebody would say, I've had a massive fight with my partner this morning, and I'm feeling really unsettled. And it wasn't, oh my God, no, we need to fix this. It was just, oh, okay, right. And so we would share what was going on, and everybody was completely okay with this. And we would go back into the kitchen, and everybody would just do their work. And and it would just create this whole sense of everything is okay. We don't need to fix anything. Where everybody is perfect. And it created such a peaceful, I came out of shifts that were really driven. I mean, we had to do lots of stuff. We were feeding 350 people. I came out of these shifts really filled up, because it was just such an fulfilling environment, because it was really full of peace.
Yes. That's a beautiful example. That's really a beautiful example, and that is, we can repeat this in any type of life. I almost said you can repeat this everywhere. It doesn't matter in what life situation you are. The thing is, and I love that you actually use the word fixing something. When we try to start fixing someone or fixing someone's problem, we basically say something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
But if we just let it be here, just as we would let everything be here, and maybe be with the sadness, or be with the anger someone has, or the experience someone was making. If we just let it be. We just be the realm, the space for it, so it can come out. It can be here. Then we don't have to fix anything. So the person can be just the way the person is in that moment by moment. There's nothing else to do, and that is more healing than any fixing or wanting to fix something in someone. It's not necessary. In that way, we're all good the way we are.
Yeah. I actually,
fantastic.
When I work with leaders, I actually say, when somebody comes to you and they start going blah, and it's just make sure that you ask them, do they want to have a conversation about a solution, or do they just want you to listen? And then if they just, just ask, do you want me to listen? And, or is this a conversation where you actually want to do something? And when people learn the difference, and then we can actually be present with them, and it's not about fixing, it's about asking questions, helping somebody arrive at their own solution. But when it's just holding, what I call holding the bucket, it's just being there, and just the person can basically just vomit into that, and being completely at peace with what comes up when somebody gets really angry or really frustrated, not taking it personally, not fixing it, but just being there for that person.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard, especially for leaders who just want to, we're going to create, we're going to make sure that this is going to work out. And then you go back and it's all going to be good. And my experience, people come back and they say, gosh, I feel so much more at peace because I don't have to fix things. I have more space in my head. That makes a really big difference. Okay, so what in your experience, I know that, you teach people how to be at peace and find stillness and meditate and all of that while walking. So your work is literally walking with people. So what do people bring with them when they walk with you? I'm really curious because if your goal is to support people while they walk, what happens?
First of all, people come with a lot of joy and curiosity. For some that actually join me on the walk, this is the first walk ever. Maybe it's still, it's the longest walk. Well, Spaziergang, I wanted to say actually the word, like I take a stroll around the block. Yeah. And now they walk for 10 to 12 days with me every day for maybe 20 to 30 kilometers a day. So that alone is already enough for them to shift, to see what happened. And I'm inviting people to participate in this, not just to come and then be there. No, this is it's generally a constant invitation to let things be there and just be with them and experience them. Let's say we sleep in an alberge and they're just metal bunk beds. And the mattresses don't look so good. And there's only one shower and one toilet. I mean, come on. So people are really with this. And then they realize, oh, what this is the place I'm supposed to sleep? How am I going to do this? There's a question maybe that pops up in someone's mind. And I say, okay, just notice the question. Notice maybe the uncomfortability in you and see what happened. Without actually waiting for it that something happens, just be with it, accept it, and then but carry on. That's the most important thing. Carry on. Or being with 5-6 people in one room. For some, this is the first time that they actually sleep with so many people in one room. So experiencing this, maybe something uncomfortable is if they feel something uncomfortable in their body and they just want to go and run away and say, or go and book themselves a double room in a 5-star hotel or something like that. If there is some on the ways I'm walking, because most of the time you can't find something like that. So I'm inviting people to openly go into that experience and treat it as with as much equanimity as possible. And then I'm there for them. Then I'm there for them when they want to talk about this, for instance. But we're talking about the experience, not talking about how we're going to change this. But talking about the experience. Okay, how did you experience this? Now it felt like this and that. Before it was like that, and now it's like that. But it's never about what it was like before and after. It's rather, what is it right now?
Mm-hmm.
How did you wake up this morning? And and what's beautiful in those walks is how people really shift rapidly. Number one, rapidly, if they really surrender to the process of the walk, and then also see the shift of behavior and how they are with each other, how to support each other. They don't try to fix, but people start practicing listening and speaking mindfully, which is beautiful. So everyone becomes the perfect listener in a way. You know, there are exceptions, but people turn into beautiful, beautiful listeners. And listening is just a fantastic practice of presence. So you give your presence to someone else and just listen.
Yeah.
And the person speaking will notice that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just so simple, actually.
Yeah.
And walking alone is such a fantastic practice in itself.
Yeah. And if we take your example of walking with a team, basically, where everybody supports each other in the place they're at without fixing, but accepting. So basically, what we're talking about is empathy instead of ego, right?
Yeah.
It supports the productivity, because I'm sure that people who might have struggled walking 20, 30 kilometers a day, when people pull together, it becomes much easier. You can do things that alone you couldn't do. I mean, yes, walking alone is one thing, but walking in a team and working in a team, that's something that where you can, I mean, I find that you get that synergistic effect. And if you, again, when you're doing it in an attitude of peace, you can achieve amazing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. If you do it peacefully, if you do it with an attitude of peace, then you don't run against walls all the time.
Yeah.
Instead, you go through them.
Yeah.
Or maybe you may not even notice them. You may see the resistance, just notice the resistance and carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say, okay, it's okay, resistance. You can be here. And then you carry on.
Yeah.
You know, because you might have slept the night not so well.
Yeah. So
and instead of complaining about the night you didn't sleep well, you don't put any attitude in it. Just said, this night I only slept 2 hours. Let's see how it goes. That's peaceful.
acceptance. It's peace with what is. So
Yes.
we're back to being, it's not expecting conditions to be perfect. So peace from without, from what happens on the outside, but being at peace from the inside out with what's I know that Joe Dispenza, one of my teachers, used to say, self-mastery is to be greater than the environment, but it's also, for me, it's also inner peace is to be greater than the environment, not in the sense of I am better, but it's like I am okay with what is.
And interesting what he said, self-mastery. What was that? Self-mastery is what?
Is to be greater than the environment.
Oh, yeah, self-mastery. Yeah, it's cool to discover the master in you. I would say, because everything is okay.
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah.
But
we use words.
Now is when it doesn't mean that we now accept everything and go, kumbaya, everything is wonderful, and whatever that happens that doesn't work for us, oh, I'm at peace with that. That's it still means I can stand up for things.
Yeah.
But I don't do it from that place of fighting and again, that aggravation. And we talked about Nelson Mandela before, but I can channel my energy into productivity, into cooperation, into solution focus. So I think we're on the same page.
Looks like it. Yeah. There was just a blank page. I love blank pages, by the way. So to just see if there is a moment of no words, to see what comes next.
Yeah. Wonderful. So have we reached the final blank page of this conversation for now?
I have no idea. Yeah, I only know if I turn that blank page, then I know.
Well, we've talked about stillness. That's how the conversation started. So maybe we'll finish in stillness, and thank everybody for watching and listening, and maybe just have a moment of peace. I could do this for a long time. But in the interest of people who watch this maybe at a break during work, please continue this at your own pace and, take the time. Thank you. Thank you so much for this, Sven. This was wonderful.
You're welcome.
I can feel this. Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching, and peace.
Peace.